Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is my 10th video now, and I hope that you've been enjoying the channel so far. As you've been watching one video after another, I've been slowly introducing you to one spirit or bottle at a time, helping you slowly build up your bar, instead of you guys going out there and buying hundreds of different bottles just to start up your cocktail hobby. So I'm doing my best to have each video tie into the next one, so that each video is like a sequel to the previous video. So in the pineapple video, it tied into the rye video because there was a pineapple cocktail. And then the rye video tied into the Aperol video because there was a rye cocktail. And then the Aperol video tied into the vodka video because there was an Aperol cocktail. But this video is going to be completely different because this video is going to be more about me and what got me into cocktails in the first place. And that's Tiki, hence the shirt that I'm wearing. So Tiki cocktails and Tiki culture all started with one man, Ernest Raymond Beaumont Gant, otherwise known as Don the Beachcomber. Because it all started when Ernest was just a young teenager who during Prohibition went on sailing trips with his grandfather, who had a, let's call it, import-export business, if you catch my drift. So they would sail from the US to Cuba to Jamaica, and this is where Ernest was getting introduced to rums and the tropics. So on his 18th birthday, Ernest was gifted a large sum of cash from his parents, and he had the option to either go to college or use it as he saw fit. Naturally, Ernest took the money and ran. So over the next few years, he sailed his way throughout the Caribbean and made his way to the South Pacific, collecting artifacts along the way, learning about the cultures, and then eventually when the money dried up, he found himself in Los Angeles. So just like I mentioned in the pineapple video, how the end of the 1960s was the beginning of the dead cocktail era, and that there was a perfect storm of multiple different things working against the cocktail industry, forcing it into this decline, specifically Tiki culture. Ironically, it was a perfect storm of multiple different things working towards the Tiki culture that allowed Ernest to start it in the first place. So when Ernest made his way back to the United States in the early 1930s, the good news was that Prohibition had ended, but this is also the time of the Great Depression. So if Americans wanted to drink during Prohibition, they would sail off to exotic places like Cuba or Jamaica. But when the Great Depression hit, a lot of Americans didn't have money to go to the Caribbean anymore. So Ernest had decided to open up a cocktail bar right off of the Hollywood Strip, and he had decorated with Polynesian artifacts that he collected from the South Pacific, giving people the illusion through these tough times that they were able to escape to some exotic island. But what made this bar so great wasn't just the decor, it was also the cocktails, because Ernest, or I guess we can call him Don now at this point, had invented a totally different category of cocktail. Because yes, leading up to this point, there's already been cocktails with rum and juices, but it was really the secret spices that Don had invented that really pushed us into a different category. Because these aren't really cocktails from the Caribbean or the South Pacific, they're inspired by these places. And a lot of the secret spices that Don had invented were inspired by these locations. And Don's bar was a huge hit. People would line up for hours just to get in. There were a lot of copycats who tried to steal his recipes and open up their own bars. And for the next 30 years or so, Tiki bars started to spread all throughout the US. And this is when some of the most popular Tiki cocktails of all time were invented. So for me, this is perfect timing for this video because here in Toronto, we're in the dead of winter. And I think when most people think of Tiki cocktails, they're thinking summer, sitting on a beach somewhere. But for me, it's more important to have a Tiki cocktail in the winter because when it's cold as hell outside and there isn't much to do, you can have a little fun inside and make yourself a Tiki cocktail and make you feel like you're on some tropical resort. Because that's what Tiki is. It's a form of escapism. Now let's get into making 3 of my favorite Tiki cocktails. So the first cocktail that I'm going to do is 3 dots and a dash. So this cocktail was invented by Don the Beachcomber, I think around the end of World War II when the Allies won the war, because 3 dots and a dash is Morse code for the letter V, which is for victory. So the recipes that I'm going to be making today are from the book Smuggler's Cove. And like I mentioned in the rum video, at the back of the book, they break the rums down into different categories. So as I call out what rum I'm going to be using, I'm going to mention what category it's from. All right, so let's introduce you to a few things here. So this cocktail calls for an aged rum agricole. So like I mentioned in the rum video, there isn't an aged rum agricole that's available in Canada at the moment. This one I got from the US, but it's quite expensive and it's not used in a lot of cocktails. So if you don't want to run out and get it, you don't have to because I think it costs around $50 or $60 US. Give this a taste test. Just like I mentioned in the rum video, I'm getting notes of like a Demerara, kind of like a Dominican rum. So if you wanted to, you can just use this rum. This is a Dominican rum, Brugal. This is a really good workhorse rum. It costs only about $30 a bottle. You can use it in a lot of different style of cocktails. So if you wanted to replace the aged rum agricole, I think you can use this rum and you'd be just fine. Okay, now moving over to the Eldorado 12. This is a rum that's easy to find within Canada, and you can find it throughout the US as well. But this right here, this is Falernum, which is a spice from Barbados. This brand here is John D. Taylor's Falernum. So this is an alcoholic one that sits at around 11%. There are some non-alcoholic ones available in Canada, but there aren't any alcoholic ones. So this is one that I got from the US, and it's pretty cost effective. It only costs, I think, around $17 or $18 US. So after you convert it to Canadian, it's really not that expensive. This right here is one of my all-time favorites. This is Allspice Dram. This particular brand is St. Elizabeth. There's 3 different brands on the market. There's this one from St. Elizabeth. Hamilton also makes one, and there's also one from The Bitter Truth. None are available in Canada. There's a theme on this channel. So Allspice Dram is a liqueur that's rum-based, and its biggest flavor is obviously allspice. But there's other notes in there. There's some cinnamon, some nutmeg, some clove. You could make these online. There are some recipes out there. I'm not going to do that on the channel, maybe in the future. But even Smuggler's Cove don't make their own Falernum and Allspice Dram, and I love the reason why. Because by not making their own, they're supporting great brands like this that make really good quality ingredients that support the cocktail industry. So again, this is a Falernum from Barbados. This is an Allspice Dram from Austria. These are really good products, and you should really go out and get them. So I'm not going to be shaking these cocktails. These call to be flash blended. So like I mentioned in the pineapple video, you don't have to go out and spend over $100 on a Hamilton Beach flash blender. For 20 bucks, you can get a milk frother, and it's going to do the job just as good. So we're going to start off with 1.5 ounces of an aged rum agricole, or you can use a Dominican rum in this case. Then 1/2 ounce of a blended aged rum. That's category number 3 in Smuggler's Cove. 1/4 ounce of Falernum. 1/4 ounce of Allspice Dram. 1/2 ounce of lime juice. 1/2 ounce of orange juice. 1/2 ounce of honey syrup. And 1 dash of Angostura bitters. I got Angostura bitters on the label. Be careful with this stuff. Okay, we're going to crush up some ice. Add a scoop of crushed ice. And flash blend for 10 seconds. We're going to serve this in a Pilsner glass. So I mentioned this before, whenever I'm filling a glass with crushed ice, I like to fill it about 3/4 of the way up, just so that the drink layers nicely throughout the glass. We're going to open pour. Top off with some more crushed ice. Put a straw in, garnish with 3 dots, and a dash. And there you have the 3 dots and a dash. Cheers. That's so good with the Allspice Dram up front, and then you're getting the rum kind of with the Falernum, and then it kind of turns into this mix between the orange juice and the honey syrup. So the next cocktail that I'm going to do is the Jet Pilot. So this cocktail was invented in 1958 by Stephen Crane at the Luau restaurant in Beverly Hills. So these two rums right here are made by Ed Hamilton. So these are some of the best rums that you can use in tiki cocktails. So these rums aren't available in Canada, but you can get them throughout the US, and they're quite cost effective. So this one here is a Black Blended Rum. This is category number, let me see here. Category number 5 in Smuggler's Cove. This is another blended aged rum. This is category 3 from Smuggler's Cove. This is in the same category as El Dorado 12, but this is just another substitution that you can use in this category. This is Hamilton 151, a black blended overproof rum. So like I mentioned, this one's not available in Canada, but you can get this one, Gosling's Black Seal 151. And lastly, this cocktail calls for Herbstura, which is just equal parts Herbsaint and Angostura bitters. Herbsaint is not available in Canada. I think you can get it in Alberta. Otherwise, you can just use pastis or any other anise flavored liqueur. So we're going to start off with an ounce of a black blended rum, 3/4 of an ounce of a blended aged rum, 3/4 of an ounce of a black blended overproof rum, 1/2 an ounce of Falernum, 1/2 an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 an ounce of grapefruit juice, 1/2 an ounce of cinnamon syrup, and 1 dash of Herbstura. So honestly, I already have the Herbsaint in an atomizer bottle, so I can just use 1 spray of that. And 1 dash of Angostura bitters. I'm not going to get it on the bottle this time. No, but I got it on the counter instead. Add some crushed ice and flash blend for 10 seconds. Add some crushed ice to a Tiki old-fashioned glass. Open pour. Put in a glass straw. Top off with some more crushed ice. And there you have the Jet Pilot. Cheers. That's really nice and complex with all the different rums going on in there. But be careful with this one because you have the overproof rum in here. So the next cocktail that I'm going to do is Dr. Funk. So initially this cocktail was invented in the late 1800s by Dr. Bernard Funk, who was a personal physician to Robert Louis Stevenson. So initially this cocktail just had absinthe, lime juice, and grenadine, but Don the Beachcomber added rum to it in the 1950s. So this is another rum from Hamilton. This is a pot still black rum. So in order to recreate this rum, you can use a 1-to-1 of Smith & Cross and Gosling's Black Seal to replicate these flavor profiles. So we're going to start off with 2 1/4 ounce of a Black Pot Still Rum. A 1/4 ounce of absinthe. You can also use Herbsaint or pastis. 1/2 an ounce of lemon juice. 1/2 an ounce of lime juice. A 1/4 ounce of grenadine. Half an ounce of Demerara syrup. And 1 ounce of club soda. Add some crushed ice. Flash blend for 10 seconds. Fill a Tiki old-fashioned glass with crushed ice. Open pour. Top off with some more crushed ice. Put in a straw. Garnish with 3 pineapple fronds. And there you have the Dr. Funk. Cheers. This one's my favorite. You have these overpowering flavors from the Pot Still Jamaican Rum and the Herbsaint, but they blend really nicely together. Okay, so that's it for today. I didn't even mention where I got my Tiki shirt. So I got this at the Mai Kai in Fort Lauderdale. So this is one of the last long-standing old school Tiki bars. They have Polynesian shows and you guys should really check this place out. I know I say this all the time, but I really hope this video was as much fun for you as it was for me. Hit that like and subscribe button, follow me on Instagram for more recipes, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.